Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
There's a book that's called 10, 10, 10. And the whole theme of the book is that every time you make a decision, you should ask yourself, how am I going to feel about this decision in 10 minutes? How am I going to feel in 10 months? And how am I going to feel in 10 years? There are many things we do that are fleeting and temporary. And then there are things that we do that have long-lasting or everlasting ramifications. So in this week's Parsha, we have two great highlights. We have the Shema and the Aseres HaDibros, the Shema and the Ten Commandments. There's a beautiful tradition that we find that when Yaakov Avinu, our father Jacob, was reunited with his son Yosef after 22 years of separation, having thought that his son died, when they reunite, it says Yosef falls on his father and weeps. And what does Yaakov do at that moment? He says the Shema from this week's Parsha. And the question is, was that the moment that he had to be praying the Shema? Couldn't he say the Shema a little earlier, a little later? And the answer is that he deliberately chose to say the Shema at that moment. Why? Because Yaakov said, this is the highlight of my life, the reunification with my beloved son Yosef, who I thought was dead. How am I going to channel that love? And so he said, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Lakein Hashem Echad. Yisrael was his alternative name, Israel. He said to himself, here Israel, look how great God is, Hashem Lakein Hashem Echad, that here I thought my son was dead, and now I'm reunited with my son. In other words, he took something as simple as a kiss, and he channeled it into a spiritual way that his son will always remember this kiss. Because it's not just an ordinary kiss, it's a kiss that's infused with love of Hashem and with gratitude towards Hashem. And he turned it into a spiritual kiss that we could still feel today, 4,000 years later. In the Ten Commandments, there are 620 letters. And our rabbis say, why 620 letters in the Ten Commandments in this week's Parsha? Because there are 613 commandments in the Torah and 7 from the rabbis. Like washing the Netilas Yadayim, or women lighting Shabbos candles, that we say, Asheker Shana B'mitzvotav Tzivanu, that through the rabbis, God commanded us these 7 commandments. 613 plus 7 is 620, which happens to be a numerical value of the word keter, which means crown. And, every day we say the Mishnah, we're going to say it in a moment, or Chaim Ben Akasha says that God loved the Jewish people, and therefore He gave us so many mitzvahs, 613 plus 7 rabbinical. The question is, how is that God's love? He gave us so many obligations. And one of the answers is given by the Telzer Rosh Hashiva, Rabbi Bleich. He says that because God loved us, He took so many of the things we ordinarily do anyways, and He turned them into mitzvahs. That we could do mitzvahs all day long just by doing things that we're doing anyways, but by having the right perspective. Like when you kiss your child, and it's not just a kiss, but you're thinking, God, thank you for giving me such a wonderful blessing. Then the ordinary kiss becomes a mitzvah because it's an expression of love for Hashem. And that's why God gave us so many commandments, so wherever we turn, we do things that become a mitzvah. I heard a story once from a musician who told me that a woman called him. She said, I need a keyboard player, a musician to play at my son's bar mitzvah. He looked at his schedule. He said, I'm booked that night. So she said, do you know any other musicians? Maybe that may be available. So the guy took out his book. He says, yeah, I have 2 other names and numbers. I'll give it to you. He gives it to her. And then he was waiting for the question he usually gets. What's the next question the person usually says? Which one's better? Who should I call first? But this woman surprised him. You know what she said to the musician? Which one needs the livelihood more? That's the one I want to call. And that shows you how an ordinary, mundane thing like booking a musician, with a little kavanah, with a little perspective and proper thought, something so normal and ordinary could become a mitzvah. We have so many opportunities during the course of the day to do mitzvahs by doing things that we're doing anyways, but doing it with the right outlook and perspective. And that's the love that Hashem gave us with 613 mitzvahs, constant opportunities to do mitzvahs.